What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I hope everybody is doing great. I hope everybody's doing great. So I've been thinking about, I've been talking a lot um, about relationships and things along those lines. And the reason I kind of went down this path, I've talked about this before, is that I started my journey on this channel as far as talking about my time of getting my degree, what that looked like, and all that kind of stuff. And then I went to self improvement, which is very important to me because I know a lot of people are suffering mentally and all that, or dealing with self doubt, things along those lines, imposter syndrome, and all that. And then kind of went to more relationship type stuff. And I want to ask this question. First of all, I'm definitely going to make a pivot back to more self improvement type stuff because this relationship stuff is really kind of taking a toll on me. It really is. So I'm gonna pivot away from that because I think that there's so much going on here that the few YouTubers who are trying to address this are not going to make the largest impact because of the society and because of the environment that we're living in. That's just the truth. We're living in such a day and time that we're just not going to deal with that. I was watching a couple of videos by Ask an Older Man, Paul, and he was talking about what's happened with the environment. Now he's talking about modern women and all this kind of stuff, and the absence of fathers, right? And so what causes this is the absent father conversation, and how I got to this place is the absent father conversation is really a lens view type of thing, right? What glasses are you looking at the world through, right? Are men just abandoning their children because they're no good, or were they kicked out of the home? That's kicked out of the home because of societal pressures, because of government subsidies and things along those lines. So it depends on who you ask, and that's why I wanted to have those kinds of conversations, because I wanted to get to the truth of the matter and to the origins of the matter. But we're not going to get there. Sociologists are not going to get there. They're not going to they're not going to talk about the Moynihan report. They're not going to talk about the man in the house rule. They're not going to talk about these types of things. I think it's just more acceptable to just dump on men and say they're just low down deadbeats who don't want to take care of their children. It's obviously a ridiculous frame of thinking, but it's really just disheartening that these things are going on. So I wanted to talk about whether the community is done, whether the community is just done. There's been a lot of other YouTubers, a lot of people talking about this, and it's really disheartening. And I don't ever want to say that it's done. I don't ever want to say that it's done. I really don't. But I am going to say that it's becoming more problematic every day. It's becoming more problematic. We're not seeing eye to eye. The traditional family, and this has been very, very devastating to me, is that the traditional family is seen as a relic of the past, that it is dumped on, and seen as unnecessary as we go forward. That there's a modern day, modern time, modern women, modern philosophy that says we can have something different from the family. Now we know that the traditional family in some form, not exactly the exact European form that we would look at with a higher patriarchal structure, but certainly fathers and the presence of masculinity and manhood has been present, that it has abided into almost all modern sociological structures, right? So that means that you can't look at a modern society today where there isn't some type of male strong presence, some way, somehow, some form, some fashion. And I think that there's an attempt for whatever reason to eliminate that. And I don't want to say for whatever reason. I obviously think that there's a number of things. They just don't think that men are necessary. They think that men have been toxic, men have been bad. And I plan to have a discussion with someone, and we're going to talk about this. Whether I release that video before this one, is something else. If you're not watching the live videos too, make sure you hit the live videos. We've got a ton of videos over there. So I wanted to just kind of address this today and just talk about, is the community done? Is it over? Is it over for the black family? Is it over for the black community? There's so many men. When you take a look at the numbers that have been put up, men make more money than women. Women are buying more homes. Women are more educated. Um, you know, um, the proportion of men who have children in comparison to the ladies. Ladies are having more children. They're having them out of wedlock. They don't seem to think that the men are necessary to raise healthy, successful men, healthy, successful children. And I wonder what that looks like for the men. For the men growing up in families without men. When you talk about, you don't need a man to have a baby or raise a baby. What? Presumably, some of those children are going to grow up to be men. I mean, should those men stick around? I mean, this seems like such utter nonsense to me. It seems like such utter nonsense. So you as a woman want to bring a child into the world or have a community or a network of people who, whether in your network is just other women or you include some uncles or friends who are try to give them some masculine presence on a transitory, temporary basis. What does that look like for that child? He's going to grow up and think that he doesn't have to be part of his children's life. I mean, I don't think that there's a thought process into what it's like for the child who's 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, 15. What does his life look like? What does his commitment and his sense of honor and all that look like? What does all that look like as he navigates the world, if you don't instill in him that? I had a conversation with someone. If you watch the video, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was very hurt by the sentiment that that there is no sense of duty and honor. And the sense of duty and honor that's instilled in men has come from other men. So if we want to raise children in communities that lack male presence, masculinity, and all that it brings, the positive and the negatives, right? We should certainly eliminate the negatives, but the positives, that sense of duty and honor, then that means that has to be instilled in him. And if you allow him, that boy, to be raised in a place where there's no sense of duty, no sense of responsibility, no sense of honor, what does that mean? And the ironic thing is about this whole conversation is that we hold men accountable. It might not seem like we do in the United States, but we do. Men get more prison time. Men are held accountable when they have jobs, in particular, to pay child support. Men are tasked with, certainly to social stigmas for being deadbeat dads, and they should be. I don't have any, but that is all duty talk. You have a duty to pay child support. You have a duty to be a part of your kid's life. You have a duty not to abandon them. We don't have any problem calling men out and saying that you should be a part of your children's life, and this whole abandoning of child. Right? The term abandon, you abandon your child. The term abandon means you have an obligation, responsibility, a duty. All these words are interchangeable. They're all interchangeable. And so if you don't instill that, if you're walking around saying that these things are not necessary in family structure, then that son is going to grow up and not think that he has a duty to be a part of his. All right, so my phone was starting to overheat there. I apologize about that. So with the death or the elimination of duty, of responsibility and all that, and with this modern generation, it's the end of that. And so what does that do to the black family? And I told you I was watching Ask an older man, Paul there. And there was a video that I had saw that he was responding to, reacting to. I thought about reacting to it myself, but I don't know. I don't think the video that he did was about ask black women, and they just don't seem to understand what it took to get to this place. There is a deliberate misunderstanding about what it took to get to where we are today. The sacrifices that men had to make, the sacrifices that the family had to make, the sacrifices that all these people made, the amount of people, the wars that we fought in, the civil rights that we had to march for, the family dynamics, the staying out late, the working late, in order to get to this place, and then to dump it off and say, oh, it doesn't matter, right? We can choose now to be something different. We can choose now to have a different family dynamic. I think that is a slap in the face to all those who came before us, of all different ethnicities in all that, and to say that we can just do something differently because presumably there's this idea that we don't need men somehow, some way, and that presumably we don't need this family structure. We don't need, not only that we don't need men, we don't need this nurturing attitude, right? Men and women are interchangeable, replaceable. Men can be just as nurturing as women, and I'm not saying we shouldn't try to be, or women can be just as strong and dominant as men. I'm not saying that they don't have to do that in certain times and places. But, but what does that mean for the black family? What does that mean? And this is what the question was asked in this panel that was talked about by black women. What does that mean for the black family? And it's a legitimate question. What does that mean going forward? What does that mean for the black family? And I don't know what that means. Time will tell, but what we have seen since, and this is what I've asked of every academic that's come on my panel, I'll continue to ask this question. We were together in slavery, and together, we can put in quotation marks. What does that mean to really be together? And then something happened in the 1960s where we were the most married and now we're the least. What does that mean? What does our community look like post that? So I don't know if it can be saved, because there's this rhetoric here that we continue not to need men, and as long as there's these benefits, man, this is some wild stuff here that we come in contact with. This is some wild stuff. And I don't know what to make of it. I don't know where we go from here. Martin Luther King asked the question, where do we go from here? Chaos Community. If you haven't read that book, you should read it. What are we going to do with this newfound freedom? What are we doing with this newfound freedom? What are we doing with this newfound technology, this environmental shifts and change? What are we doing with it? We're making it seem as if none of these things where it took to get here is important. But there's always a saying about what it took to get a woman or a man is what it's going to take to keep them. That philosophy seems to be lost when it comes to this generation. What it took to get here is going to presumably take to keep us here and to propel us to go forward. But there's an abandoning of that way. It's old. It's old fashioned. We don't need that. And people can make their own decisions. And don't judge women. Don't judge black women. And we have our own autonomy and this. So my message is for men, in particular, to just be the best version of yourself. Go where you're appreciated, not tolerated, but appreciated. Go where you're appreciated, where you're loved and adored for your masculinity, for your presence, for your intelligence, for who and what you are. So that's my talk for today. Very disappointed in what's going on, but this is me. I'm very disappointed in this, and I think that's a bad situation that we've gotten ourselves into. I think it's a bad, it's a slap in the face, a spit in the face to those patriarchs of ours who, in particular for the black community, have gone through all the stuff they went through, all the lynchings, the beatings, the burnings, the humiliation, the degradation, survival of all types of abuse, sexual abuse, the psychological terror that we were constantly living under, to now say, I don't need you. I don't need your. I don't need that. I don't need this. But you have no problem holding men account. No problem saying men who don't do right by their kids are deadbeats. Men who don't work are deadbeats. And I'm not saying that they aren't. And men should do these things, but there's a duty and honor to do those things. And when you want to abandon the responsibilities and then raise children, and when you're raising children, you're raising boys to grow up and not think that, and think what? That they don't have an obligation to do right by their children? Don't you want them to be different from the deadbeats that their uncles or brothers or cousins or whatever negative images you have of men? Don't you want them to be different? Well, how are you going to raise them to be different? By showing them that the men aren't important in family life? Does that make any sense at all? That makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. To try to raise the very type of children that you want in environments that you don't want, that are antithetical to the type of outcome that you want. I want strong men presence in my life to marry or not marry, but I want to raise children, boys, and not only raising boys to not see that on a constant daily basis, and then acquiesce to some type of my thing is falling down here, to some type of things falling down, to some type of masculine presence. But then your girls who are children are going to grow up and not see that and think it's okay, it's okay, it's natural, and we don't need men in order to accomplish our goals in life. And this is in the video. In the video, I might do a reaction to this another time. But in the video that they were playing, called Ask Women, or Ask a Black Woman, they were talking about that. They were going off about this. We don't need men and we don't need that. And I totally lost my train of thought there. So it's just a disappointing time that we're in. Just a disappointing time. You can't raise children to be a certain thing without modeling that type of behavior. I don't even understand any of that. I don't understand what's going on today. I don't understand what's going on today. All right, let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Hit me in the comments section. Much love and peace.